Is Destiny 2 the highest monetized game on the market today? We're going to be exploring that with a topic here from Paul Tassi. The article is titled, Destiny 2 may have the most microtransactions of any mainstream game. Now that is quite the spicy topic. Let's dive right in and see what we're talking about here. It begins with, while there is a general sense that Destiny 2 is over monetized at this point, with prices creeping higher and chunks of content being sold separately, it's also becoming the sheer volume of what's being sold. And that's actually a great realization when you actually look through all of the different ornaments and everything that can be bought from Eververse. The amount is just staggering. Bungie over the years has built up an arsenal of aesthetics to sell within this store, and after about 6 years it has really accumulated. The next part reads, I'm not saying Destiny 2 is the most predatory game on the market. That title certainly goes to gacha games which require literal gambling or huge power gains. Destiny 2, for its store-based faults, does not do that. Even if lately there are small creeps into selling power, nothing like a full-on gacha or loot boxes. Which is definitely fair to say. I mean, even though Bungie's practices have definitely gone over the deep end, they're far from predatory, especially when you compare them to other games. Gacha games and loot boxes can basically just be like built-in gambling into the game's ecosystem and are actually way worse than Destiny 2. I don't think we'll ever see anything like that in Destiny 2.
You underestimate my power!
But let's move on to the next part. However, if we break out every single thing that Destiny 2 sells at this point, it's kind of astonishing. It's not just store items, it's also how playable content is structured, and I think we need to lay it out all in one place, so let's begin. The game content in Destiny 2 is comprised of expansions, individual seasons with a season pass, a Forsaken pack with weapons, dungeon, and raid, a special bonus content with the 30th anniversary event, the dungeon pass, 2 dungeons a year, event cards which come out quarterly, and that's all just to play the content in the game. That has nothing to do with any sort of aesthetics or Eververse items. The list of Eververse items is as follows. We have armor ornaments, weapon ornaments, both exotic and legendary, ships, sparrows, ghost shells, finishers, emotes, transmat effects, upgrade module booster to burn bright dust, glimmer booster to burn bright dust, shaders. Some recently are now behind a paywall, a $10 paywall, be it at that, ghost projections, unlimited transmog activation. Now that is a lengthy list. Test Eververse has been hard at work.
You can't keep getting away with it!
And while it's true many things in the store category can be earned for Bright Dust, A, you have zero control over what or when things rotate through for Bright Dust, and an increasing number of things no longer do, and B, it is easy to burn through months of Bright Dust accumulation on, say, a set of armor or a couple of ornaments. Now myself personally, I don't have this problem because I pretty much just stay out of Eververse in its entirety. I don't really mess with it. I don't spend any silver on it or Bright Dust. And since I've been playing this game since the beginning and currently have 19,000 hours, I have almost 300,000 Bright Dust. But if I did buy things from time to time, I'm sure it would be much less. Comment down below how much Bright Dust you currently have in Destiny 2. For comparison, there are some games here that come close. Call of Duty has invented all manner of emblems and trinkets and gun skins to throw into bundles alongside actual operators, but it doesn't have as much, nor is its game content broken up anywhere close to what Destiny does, which I don't know if this is necessarily a fair comparison because Call of Duty and Destiny are such vastly different games. I mean, we definitely can compare their monetization strategies, but Destiny is just structured in such a different way than Call of Duty is, so I don't know if the comparison is necessarily fair in this instance. Because even if Call of Duty doesn't have the monetization practice of having all these different microtransactions, what Call of Duty does much worse is they come out with a new game every year, so you basically just have to rebuy the same game over and over again, with slight variations, which Destiny 2 does not do, or at least we did it one time in the history of the franchise when we went from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2. But let's jump on to the next point. It reads, most other games in the looter genre specifically don't get to this level. Thinking back through both the successful and failed ones, Borderlands, The Division, Anthem, Marvel's Avengers, Outriders, Diablo, none of them are close. Warframe might be in some ways, but even then. And I think it's a much more fair comparison to compare Destiny 2 to the other looter shooter genre games and their monetization practices. However, it should be said that Destiny 2 offers more than all of these games, which is why it's the most successful looter shooter, so of course you're going to end up spending more in this game. And while I myself have only ever dabbled in these other looter shooter games, I can't really speak to what their monetization practices are. If you have played them, comment down below your thoughts on the monetization within Borderlands, The Division, Anthem, Avengers, Outriders, or Diablo, if it's at all comparable to Destiny 2's. The next part reads, of this list, I think there are some things that should not be sold at all. The Forsaken Pack, event cards, and the Dungeon Pass should not exist. In the store, transmogs should not be sold, the boosters should be deleted so they don't trick new players, shaders should not be behind $10 bundles now. In the Season Pass, deep sight harmonizers should not be there at all and need to be earned in-game. And honestly, I greatly agree with all of this. The entire monetization strategy from Bungie needs to just be dialed back a little bit, or at this point, maybe a lot. Like the Dungeon Pass and the event cards definitely do not need to exist at all. There should be some kind of legacy purchasing option where you can buy all the old content with just one bundle that would be affordable, so that way new players can actually jump into the game and experience the entirety of Destiny 2 without having to individually buy a dozen different things. And on a similar note, cosmetics from Eververse should definitely be earnable in-game. You should not have to fork over silver for cosmetics, especially the ones tied to the seasonal events. The next part reads, it's just gone too far, too much splitting of content and overloaded store stuff with many things that shouldn't be there in the first place, not to mention too many things being put there period, at least in comparison to the kinds of rewards earned in-game. 5 new ships and ghost shells for every earned one, 3 paid sets of armor ornaments every season. He has a great point here, which is just that Destiny 2 should incentivize players to play more rather than just fork over fistfuls of cash in order to fund Bungie's future expansions and other projects like Marathon, I'm sure. I hope that with enough pressure from articles like this, from videos like this one I'm making, we end up eventually putting enough pressure on Bungie to actually get a response about this, which is why you want to make sure you like this video. The last bit reads, will this be examined? I doubt it. Things are only getting worse in time and we essentially never see anything walked back, but even a few things would go a long way at this point just to show that it's not always going to keep expanding until the entire game is shattered into a million little paid pieces. And then in response to this, we actually have a comment from a Warframe player, which I think adds a lot of interesting context. They comment saying, I would be very, very surprised if Destiny 2 actually beat Warframe in terms of total number of items for sale. So apparently Warframe has a ton of items for sale, maybe even more than Destiny 2.
Impossible.
The next part reads, like, we can debate which model is more predatory all day long, but literally every single item in Warframe can be bought for cash. Every gun, every cosmetic, every crafting material, every single use buff, all of it can be had just by handing over cash at any time. And granted, I haven't counted, but I definitely assume there are more items in Warframe total than there are items specifically made for real money sale in Destiny. Holy, sounds like Warframe is completely pay to win, but I wouldn't know because I haven't played the game much, so you'll have to let me know in the comments. Others would argue that Warframe is allowed to have that type of model due to the fact that Warframe is an actual free-to-play game, whereas Destiny 2 is more of a free-to-try game. I'm not sure if Bungie will ever respond to the microtransaction insanity that Destiny 2 has turned into, but hopefully they will soon because the pressure is getting intense. So much so that people are actually boycotting the Solstice event. If you haven't seen that video right here, people are boycotting buying any microtransactions from the Solstice event in protest of Bungie's over-monetization of the game. And if you want to see my full opinions of the 2023 Solstice event, click on the video right here. I give you my full and complete review of 2023 Solstice, so I'll see you over in one of those videos. As always, thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.